What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune in and you check out the content. And in this video, I'm gonna be talking about Caitlin Clark and how I think that Nike really sabotaged her shoe deal. Right? Caitlin Clark signed with Nike is really going on 3 years ago, or it might be just about 3 years ago. I know she played. This is her third WNBA season, right? And there was a recent article that came out, and it was explaining how Nike fumbled the bag when it came to Caitlin Clark and her shoes, right? By waiting so long in order to put her shoe out. But I'm of the belief that I don't think it was. I don't think it was Nike fumbling it. I think it was more so leaning towards, in my opinion, Nike sabotage, right? Because Nike is the biggest shoe company in the world. And so with the resources and the experience that they have, no way, I don't believe that it should have taken them 3 years in order to put out Caitlin Clark's shoes. Right. And so I just think that I think that there's a conspiracy to allow or to wait for her popularity to go down, and then that's going to affect her shoe sales. And so now Jason Whitlock reacted to also this article, right? And he had his take on it, but Jason Whitlock take, in my opinion, kind of it lets them off it lets Nike off by just saying that they fumbled it. But I wanted to take it a step further and say that I don't believe that a company like Nike would fumble an opportunity. I just think that it was done on purpose, right? So let's listen to what Jason Whitlock had to say about Nike fumbling Caitlin Clark's, that shoe deal. And so here we go with Jason Whitlock.
Two things have happened. Dan Wetzel at ESPN, one of the best sports journalists in America, wrote a piece yesterday about Nike's fumbling of the Caitlin Clark gift. Nike is, I think, October 1st, is releasing the Caitlin Clark shoe in October. They just previewed it yesterday. Looks like a sharp shoe. But the timing of when they're releasing it, now, when Caitlin Clark's popularity is at the lowest it's been since 2022. Caitlin Clark, starting her junior year of college, started to become a force of nature. And by the time she got to her senior year in college, by the time she got to the national championship game her senior year, the ratings for women's college basketball went through the roof. They set records, unprecedented records. Caitlin Clark had arrived. She's taking on South Carolina and Don Staley in the championship game, and they set records. Then she becomes a force of nature and breathes life into the WNBA, a league that has lost money for 30 straight years, had never once in its life ever been relevant. She comes to the WNBA. They start setting television records, all-star voting. She's the most popular, gets more than 1 million votes for the all-star game. No Nike shoe when her senior year in college. No Nike shoe when she's a rookie in the WNBA. No Nike shoe when she's coming into her second season in the WNBA after setting the league on fire. No shoe then. And now, when it becomes clearly obvious this year that, hey, they're struggling to sell out the arena in Indiana. If you watch the game, empty seats, there hadn't been empty seats for 2 years. And now that there are empty seats, and now that it's clear as day, and I started off this season like, she's not playing well. They at the beginning of the season, they adopted a different style of play that was boring, and I came out and said, hey, man, the thrill is gone.
All right, so let me just when I think when LeBron James, before he even touched down in the NBA, he had a deal with Nike, right? Now I'm not sure, and I'm not sure how long after he hit the NBA. I think it probably was like about his around his first year. He had the shoe deal, and the shoes were on the shelf, right? Now with Caitlin Clark, with her popularity, just imagine if Nike really wanted to capitalize on her popularity, they could have had a shoe deal. They could have had the shoes on the shelf within months, probably like about 7 or 8 months. They could have had those shoes on the shelf, and they would have sold. Remember when she they did the collab with Caitlin Clark and Kobe Bryant, those Mambas, and it took 10 minutes for those shoes to sell, right? So if they did that with the Kobe shoe and the Caitlin Clark, like the kind of like the collab with those shoes, and it sold in 10 minutes, and they were excited about what they saw, then that was more than enough reason for them to hurry up and get her shoe on the shelf. But that's why I said from the very beginning, I knew before Caitlin Clark even hit the WNBA that the NBA and Nike and those big sponsors, they didn't want, they wasn't interested in promoting women's basketball, and they're not interested in really promoting Caitlin Clark. What they want to do is make it look like that's what they're doing, promoting Caitlin Clark, and Nike gave a deal, and then she's doing stuff with State Farm and stuff like that. So they wanted to make it look like the sponsors are really, she's drawing a lot of sponsors and stuff in, right? But when in all actuality, they're not really, they dragging their feet, like publicly. Publicly, they wanted to look like they supporting her and doing the right things. But when you take 3 years to put out a shoe for somebody who is the biggest athlete in the WNBA, it's not, to me, it's not like they fumbled it. It's more, in my opinion, like sabotage.
And then they had a brief flash. She led some comeback and scored like 18 points in the fourth quarter and led them back. And there was this brief flash of, oh, that's the old Caitlin Clark. It was a brief flash. Caitlin Clark is shooting a horrible percentage from three-point range. The turnovers are still there. And the acting out, the belligerent behavior, the petulant behavior is even more pronounced. And Caitlin Clark, the shine on Caitlin Clark has clearly diminished to the point. Do we have these stats? The voting, the All-Star voting. She's 5th in All-Star voting with, what is it, 253,000 votes. She's 5th behind Asia Wilson, Paige Beckers, Aaliyah Boston, Brianna Stewart, and Caitlin Clark. If we went back a year or two, Caitlin Clark more than 1 million votes. Caitlin Clark well out of head of any of her competitors. Her popularity at that, she's fallen to 5th. Overall voting for the WNBA.
That's why I say I think it's on purpose, right? So now that her popularity has gone down, her shoe is about to come out in October, right? And so if her shoe had came out even in year one or even year two, those shoes would have really sold out, right? And for her to sell shoes at the level that she probably would have had her shoes came out when they were supposed to, months into her rookie season, I think that would have only given women's basketball, the WNBA, more leverage in order for them to ask for more money. Now that the CBA, the collective bargaining, that deal is done, and the women got the money that they got, now they're bringing her shoe out, right? And so what Nike can say is like, well, your shoe, you're not as popular as you used to be. Your shoe's not selling the way they, you know what I mean? So basically, it's obvious, in my opinion, that Nike just basically set her up. Now, this argument right here, Nike and like what he said, some guy named Dan Wetzel wrote the article, right? But who's to say that this guy is not, like conspiring with Nike? Because Nike would probably rather be looked at it, think that they want people to think that they fumbled the bag, rather to think that they are, they discriminate against women, right? You would prefer for somebody to say, "Oh man, you messed up a golden opportunity." Y'all fumbled the bag, and I think that's probably, in my opinion, why the only reason why women get like shoe deals, almost like the same way that the NBA subsidized WNBA basketball, right? They don't want to promote it, but they subsidize it, just because so they can say, well, it's we have it, we support it, but they not really using the resources that they can really to expand it, because they're not interested in expanding the WNBA. They're not really interested in promoting players in the WNBA. They get shoe deals, right? And they'll have it. You can see their shoes at the stores, but they don't. Nike really probably don't feel like, nor does the NBA feel like that they really need to pay these women and promote them the same way that they promote the men. So they give them all these little subsidies and these little handouts just to make it look like, that they are that they trying to support the women, but basically they're not doing that. I think it's, they control the numbers. They control how much these women sell. And this situation here with Caitlin Clark, to me, it just made it look obvious. Like, everybody know that in business, time is money, and you want to strike while the iron is hot, right? And she was hot her first 2 years. Well, really, college she was hot, and then coming into by the time she hit the WNBA, they could have sold a boatload of shoes if that's what if that's what Nike was interested in. They could have sold a boatload of shoes, but they wasn't. They wait until her numbers drop, and then now they're coming out in October. So we'll see what happens in October, like how her shoe sells. But she is definitely like Jason Whitlock said, she's not, her popularity has kind of is starting to slide. So I don't believe that with a company like Nike, the biggest, shoe company in the world, I don't think they dropped the ball, man. I think this is all by design. So that's my take on it. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Also, don't forget to leave a comment. And I'm going to check you all out in the next video. Peace.